Well, it's great to be here today. I'm with a great friend of mine, actually a childhood friend from San Jose, California, Brent Vossoughi. Great to have you here.
Great to be here.
You know, I wanted to bring Brent, and I wanted to share it with my community, just how far you've come. And I know the story because I was a little bit a part of it. And I always want to bring out the people who are really doing the work, really putting what I teach and what I believe into action. Brent has a company that he took, and I'll let him share the story. It's called Pinnacle Growth Advisors. He took it from 2014 at zero starting out. I remember when, and he'll tell the story better than me, but I remember exactly the advice I gave him when he got the call that his other business was shutting down. And Brent took the company from zero to multiple seven figures, and he has a team of 6 people in the recruiting business really making things happen. So Brent, what I would love to know, tell them your story. Tell them where you came from. Everybody's an overnight success until they're not.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to share that.
Yeah, the quick version is just worked in corporate for a long time, right? And this was up till 2014, and I'll never forget the day because it's cemented in me, but May 1st, 2014, I literally got an email that the place I was working at was done. The partnership was ceased. And I'll never forget we were together when this came in, which I think the universe, that wasn't by accident. And I'll never forget you saying, this is the best thing that will ever happen to you. Now, at the time, I had a 1-year-old daughter. My mind goes into freak out mode. Where am I going to get money from? Like, all these moving parts come to the mind. But you were like, you know what? You were built for this. This will be a blessing in disguise. And who would have known 9 years later, you were actually right.
Well, you know what's so interesting? I could tell you that from my perspective at the time. I remember I said, oh, now you can bet on yourself. I'm always talking about betting on yourself. Yep. Like, that's what I did. I always look back. I was telling my wife this. We were in Italy this summer. And I was sitting out on this balcony in Portofino, beautiful view. And I was thinking, all of a sudden a thought came, what did you do to go from where I was, failing considerably and a lot of debt, to succeeding considerably? And this one idea came in my mind. There was 2 of them. I said, I bet on myself, and I had courage. And that's what you had. You know, take them in your mindset of really what you were thinking at that time, then go fast forward the next 12 months and give them a little idea of where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, it all happened very quick. And my mindset was, your back's to the wall. And so very quickly, I inherited a belief that you have to produce. There is no plan B. There is no other alternatives. There is no, let me try this out and see what happens. It was all or nothing. And I think, you know, I've heard the terms when you jump and find your wings along the way. Sometimes you're building a business, you're building the plane on the runway, so to say. And I believe that. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have all these cash reserves, didn't have website, emails, like nothing was in order. But what I did have was like myself and my belief that I could do this. And all it took was just going into action. Now, if we fast forward to answer your question, where are we now? I mean, just this year, we reached the Inc. 5000 for the first time. So the beautiful part about that is it's based on a 3-year track record of growth. So this is not a one-hit wonder. This is not, oh, we had a great 22. This is consistency year over year over year that is compounded.
What do you think has built that consistency?
The more that I've invested into myself, the more I've seen it in the results. So even early on when we first started kind of really going down the personal development success path, I think the biggest thing was I didn't just listen to what you say, but I implemented what you said. And the more that I became around it, honestly, it became addictive. We always spoke about how early on I would read some of these books, and honestly, it was like a foreign language. It didn't register. And as I started to consistently read things, listen to things, play at what you always say, a different frequency, things started to click. It started to make sense. And even now, I'll go back and read some of these books that you've kind of enlightened me with, and I'm different, so I read it differently. And so that's probably been the biggest shift. The more that I've poured into myself, the more I've seen the results increase.
Well, you know, one thing that I can tell is how much your image has changed. Your image has changed considerably. Now, my image has changed considerably. And that's part of doing that inside work. That most people, I always say this, most people want the results of the top 1%, but they won't do what the top 1% are willing to do. And now, you've gone, like if you look at it from 0 to multiple 7 figures, there was a lot of successes, a lot of failures along the way. What do you think your biggest lesson was? Like the one thing that sticks out in your mind more than anything else?
There's 2, and you have been actually an integral part in both of them. Number 1, I'll never forget, and you won't forget this either. We were at one of your child's birthday parties, and I was defeated. I remember that I had a deal go sideways. I was still early on in the business, so I needed that deal. I needed that check to cash. And you said you're emotional about the result. You need the deal. It doesn't mean that the client needs that service. It doesn't mean the candidate in my world needed that, but you needed it. And what I was doing was repelling that from happening. So it was actually anti-energy as opposed to attracting it to me. I was actually putting it further away. I've never forgotten that, and I've been able to remove emotion. I've stayed the course, managed the process, always deliver and over-exceed, and what happens, happens. Number 1. Number 2 is the best thing that I've learned from you, hands down, is working away from a goal. Reverse engineering. I teach this to so many people because I used to always work towards, and I've always had pretty big goals, but it always seemed very hard, very far away. And even if we use rough numbers, right? Let's just say somebody wants to make $100,000 a month. Early on, I used to come from a place as though I'm nibbling away, but up. Oh, here's 7, now I'm at 14, 22, 42, 67. It seemed hard. What you taught me was you have got to come from a place, it already happened. Come from a place, this 100 is already done. Now I work away. So now I go 100, down to 92, down to 74, down to 28, and it became smaller and more manageable. Those 2 things have transformed my life and business.
Let's go deeper in these 2, because they're big ideas. Like we're talking about big. I remember like it was yesterday, number 1. You walked in, you looked terrible. I mean, you had all this stress, and I said, what's wrong? And I want anybody can relate to it. I can relate to it. That's why I could help you that day, because I had to go through that. And when you're attached to anything, it owns you. And one deal is not going to make or break you. But we don't know it at the time. We don't even realize we're doing it. And that's why I knew it was critical, because it was critical for me. And it's critical for anybody to create success, is understanding not to be attached to the deal. When you're attached to anything, like you said, you repel it. But when you are detached, it's this or something better you're going to start attracting. And I remember several months later, you told me, you said, that was so impactful for me. But it was only impactful because you got your ego out of the way. Most people have their ego in the way. Most people want feedback when it's comfortable. So I want to congratulate you on that, because I knew when I did it, when I was taught it, it was like the same lesson. But the second one, I remember we were at a wedding, and I'm always deconstructing, reverse engineering from it. The goal is already here. And I remember at the wedding we were at, I don't know when it was, June, and I said to you, I want you to practice this one thing. And you said, what is it? Because you were telling me the goal you were working on. And I said, I teach this to all my clients, but not many of them still are doing it. And I said, if you just do this one thing, it'll change it. And it was exactly what you were talking about. Make every decision from your goal. Have every discipline from the goal. Have every attitude from the goal. Build your image from the goal, and your attitude and everything will change.
Yeah, and this Inc. 5000 is a prime example, because the coolest part of the story is literally in 2019, I had a graphic made from the future, because it's on a 3-year track record, right? So it said year 2023. I can show you this to you. You've seen it.
I've seen it.
And so I always worked away, because you're right, because to carry yourself in that world, right? To be in one of those 5,000 fastest growing companies, you have to act different. You have to carry yourself different. The product you deliver to your clients, the conversations, the energy, just the overall aura you have around yourself is different. That's why this was so important to me, because it was an identity shift. But the identity shift didn't happen 2 weeks ago when I got the award. The identity shift happened 4 years ago, knowing that this award was going to happen. The other thing that you taught me too is the importance around writing from the future. I'll never forget that. I can't tell you how many pieces of paper, and sometimes you only find stuff when you move or like, and it's mind blowing how much has come to fruition. But more importantly, I had a piece of paper and it was talking about, I'll never forget the emotion around opening the email, saying I won the award, the phone call I was gonna make to my mom and wife, the fact that we were gonna go to San Antonio to celebrate this gala. I could see myself in the tuxedo, and that's the other thing you taught me too. You have to involve emotions. It's not just you have to see it, you have to use your senses. What do I see, smell, touch, taste, and hear, right? Close your eyes and what do I see around me to make it real? The more that I've included that, it's game over.
See, these are not big ideas. They're little ideas compounded over time with emotion that always comes to fruition. Now, why do you think some people will work on the ideas? Like you worked on them, I've worked on them, I've implemented it, you've implemented. Why do you think some people do and most don't?
I think a lot of people work on it, but they let the smallest hurdle derail them. And they're not staying the course, staying consistent, ingraining it into them where it's just part of their being and part of their life, right? Because it's real easy to go to events, go to seminars, you get hyped up for 48 hours, and then you got to go home, and then what? What are you actually implementing? And you may start to put some of this stuff into motion, but as soon as life throws you a little curveball, it's like you're crippled. You don't know how to handle those situations. So for me, I just always had the belief that this works, because here's the thing. You can read any of these books. You can have conversations with people like yourself. You always told me success leaves clues, but you have to know when to pick them up and actually go into motion. A lot of these concepts are not foreign, but people just have to implement them.
Yeah, I break it down. I think winners win, losers lose.
Black and white.
Like, I think that's what it is. I really am very transparent about this. I'm not telling people that they're losers, but they're losing is a mental disease. Winning is a healthy habit, and we're born to win. So when somebody gets dropped from adversity, they haven't built toughness yet, and you have to have toughness to win. Think about it. You and I have a very similar but different story. We both had to start over, and we both took the challenge. See, we have to do hard better. And we can't screw around. Screwing around and playing small is a dumb idea. Like, when I told you in 2014, I remember it, you were so scared. And I said, forget about it. Like, use this, bulletproof it to your favor, and that's what you've done. And I always congratulate you for it, because I know the work it takes, because I had to do it. And it's not hard work. It's just tedious. It's the disciplines you build. It's how you stretch your mind. And that's what you've done, and that's what I want everyone watching this to do. Like, if you and I, two kids from California, growing up playing sports together, and you fast forward 40 years, and you look at where we are, we're both have similar areas we grew up, we both failed a lot, and now we took responsibility, and anybody can do it. I really believe anybody can do it. But think about this. If you look at your days, what do you think 2 or 3 of the best behaviors you've created where it'd be so much harder not to do than to do it?
I'm robotic. 5 a.m. working out every morning, because I believe before you go and take care of others, lead others, before you're a husband, leader of people, entrepreneur, you got to take care of yourself, right? And so I really pour into myself in those mornings, and just to kind of clear the mind and kind of set myself up. I've always believed win the morning, win the day. That's number one. And then number 2, it's what I call playing offense versus defense. So like when I get into the morning, I'm in control. I'm not letting myself into the big bad world of emails and putting out fires, but I'm gonna play offense and dictate what I wanna do, what I wanna push out, the clients I wanna contact, the calls that I wanna make. So to me, that's a very proactive, not reactive approach, where I think a lot of people, they just wake up and maybe they're jumping on social media, they're getting on emails, and all of a sudden they're coming from a defensive state. Where I'll never do that. I'm always going to control it.
Okay, so let's look at that.
Yeah.
Similar language. I say play to win. Similar language, but go back 2014. You got that email. You weren't on offense.
No.
Okay? So somebody's watching this. They're not on offense. They can't get through what we're saying. They're like, I wish I could do it. I knew I was one of those people, right? What do you think shifted? Like, I have an idea of what shifted, but from your perspective, what do you think shifted when you were scared playing on defense to really shifting it?
It's one of my favorite quotes. It was inspiration by desperation. Let's just call it, I had reasons to win.
Yeah.
And I think that that's exactly what was in the corner, right? Is that there was reasons to win. I had a daughter. I had a wife that gave me the opportunity to take this bet. There was no other option to me. What's the other option? Play safe, go get a job. I can do that any day. But I had a very small window to kind of, like you said, bet on yourself and perform. And I just went all in. Like, and going back to what you said about what should people be doing, I think the amount of output that I did was 10x what majority of other people do. If there was anything I undervalued, is how much output I had to do to get the results that I wanted. It wasn't just one and one.
Yeah, so you had a huge why. Your why was through the roof. I think if we don't have a big why, you're not going to get there. I used to talk to my mentor about this all the time, and he said, well, some people don't need it as big. I said, from my experience, when I've never had a big enough why, I would always stop. When your why is through the roof, the how will show itself. And that's what happened for you. But there's one thing you did that you haven't mentioned. You had to make a no shit, no kidding, irrevocable, committed decision like, I am burning my bridges. This is where I'm going. This is how I'm starting Pinnacle Growth Advisors. Okay? Talk about that decision. Talk about when you really made it. Not like when you were like, okay, this sounds like a good idea. Talk about when you emotionally connected where you were like, that's it.
Honestly, it was probably when I got my first check, and it took 90 days to get $7,500, which at the time felt like $1 million because it was proof of concept. And I never forget, you always told me too, if you can do something once, you can do it 1,000 times, right? Because it's reps. We're big sports people. I was learning my reps. I was learning my routines, my skills, my blind spots. Where can I increase? So that became very real to me because now I'm taking a business check, I'm depositing it into a business account. I kind of stood up a little bit more, right? It became real. And I'll never forget, even early on, I invested in getting like polos with my logo on it, hats, water bottles, because I would carry myself as a business owner. I had no clients. I wasn't even closing deals, but the belief was there that this is who you are and this is your identity.
Where do you want to go next? What is your next big move?
You know, that's a question that I constantly go back and forth because the obsession was so big around the Inc. 5000, laser focus. I'll tell you, there was nothing that was going to stop me from that happening. I knew it was going to happen. Now it's not just increasing the business and everything else, but there's other avenues that I want to get into. I get pursued a lot about coaching other solopreneurs, how to build these 7-figure businesses. Motivating and pushing other people is a big driver for me as well, right? It's one thing to do it yourself, but to be able to clone yourself and bring other people along with you. I find great joy in that. I'm just like you. I like to see people win. There's no ego, right? There's no animosity. I don't care if you're below me or above me. I just like to want to be around winning, and it's an environment.
I think for you, like what I'm hearing, the Inc. 5000, and now I would advise you've got to set a new goal right away. Because I watch so many people, they'll hit their big goal, and then they plateau. But what happens is they start creating a paradigm shift in the other way. So I will tell you right now, you set even a bigger goal than the Inc. 5000. If it is you consulting, say, I'm going to create a goal where I'm going to bring 100 people and teach them what I've done in your field or in other fields. It doesn't matter. But set that goal. That's what has to happen.
You want to know something crazy? Like when I got that email that I had been waiting 4 years for, it was so expected. I didn't have the emotional reaction that I thought because I had already played that movie out in my mind 1,000 times. It had already become so real that when it happened, I was like, oh, okay, now what?
Well, you've already, like the award was always going to happen. That was the effect.
Right.
what it made of you to build yourself up was the key part. You know, I remember when I earned my first 7 figures, my mentor's like, were there any parties? I said, no. He said, were there any balloons? I said, no. He said, was it a big deal? I said, no. He said, same thing for me. Yeah. He said, it's because you already built all those behaviors. And that's what you did. You went and had adversity. You said, hold on a second. I'm not going to wilt. And you raised yourself. The minute you made the decision is when your life changed. Until that, you could have went back. You could have earned a couple $100,000. But you would have accepted what was okay for what was now great for you and your family. And not just that, you're creating a ripple effect generationally in your family. That's what's amazing. Like what I'm watching is generational. See, a lot of people will hate on you too. You're going to have your haters. Bless them. You know, they're the best. But put more energy on the people who believe in you than the haters. A lot of people let the haters motivate them. I say, screw that. Like, there's people in your corner who had your back when you weren't winning. Those are the people you want to keep proving right.
Well, I think what's crazy too, and you'll attest to this, the reality is there's going to be one person in every family that changes the family tree, changes the trajectory, changes the belief system, changes the identity of who we are, how we travel, where we go, the schools we go to. And I'll never forget, you know, money comes up a lot, and all you ever told me is all money does is give you options.
That's it.
Options of where you travel, where you stay, what seats you get at ball games, which we both like to sit low, right? Yeah. The clothes you wear, the blazers you buy. That's all it really is. And you, when you're that person in your family, I think you kind of know too, as weird as that sounds, I think internally you know that it's you.
Yeah.
And I think you can identify with that, and I absolutely can. And what I've learned too, people watch. And I'll never forget the saying too, things are caught, not taught. And you have to really watch your actions, your behaviors, even how you treat your wife, how you treat your kids, how you treat people around you, right? Because it's just gonna trickle into everything else, especially the youth.
You know, the one thing, anybody watching this, you've got 2 hungry people here. Like, we're never satisfied.
No.
Like, I'm always thinking about how to get better. I had a client today, they said, well, you've achieved this, so what else do you want? I go, I want something far greater, because my mind, I'm gonna go as far as my mind, as I program and train my mind. So I don't think, oh, I'm not satisfied with where I am. Well, I'm definitely not satisfied, but I'm not ungrateful. I'm very grateful for where I am, but I wanna go so much further. I wanna help so many more people. I wanna help thousands of people. Yeah. I wanna get, thousands upon thousands. I want everybody to win. And that's what you're showing. Now think about this. If you were giving advice to yourself from you 24 months from now, so the person 24 months fast forward, what advice would that person give you right now that says, the reason we got to where we are now I'm multiple 7 figures, but now you're doing it at a much higher level. What things would your future self be telling you that you implemented that you have not implemented yet?
I think thinking bigger and getting around people that are doing what I want to do and connecting those dots. Because I think that I need to attract bigger people into me at this point to be able to kind of navigate some waters and get me to those next level. Because you know this, going from, you know what's crazy, another saying that you always told me, it was harder to get to $250,000 than it was to $1 million. And that may sound weird to some people, but you're spot on.
It was much harder.
And I think even going from those levels of $1 million to 5 to 10 to 15, it's really about who you become on that journey, but more importantly, who you learn from, right? And the relationships and the contacts you have. So that's where I am now, is like, I'm just trying to find those bigger people, and I know who they are. And it's amazing how receptive they are to help you. No one's repelling you, no one's pushing you away, stay where you are. People literally will give you a hand and want to pull you along and pull you up too, if they're the right people.
Always. You know, it's about the environment. You want to surround yourself with A+ performers.
Yep.
A lot of people want A+ results, but they're hanging around C- performers. It's never going to happen. You know, I'll tell you, I'm so excited for you, because I think this is just the start. I don't even think you're getting close. I don't think you even know how far you could go. And I remember when I hit, for me, this is me personally, when I hit my first big thing, I told myself, I'm just going to see how far I could take this. I never said, okay, that's just it. And that's what I see in you. You have such contagious passion, which I'm always talking about. I'm always talking about you, and I'm always saying how proud I am because I've seen the whole journey, and I've been grateful that I've been able to be on it with you. But I'm telling you, your next big move's your biggest move, and you're just getting started.
Well, and I agree with you what you just said a minute ago too. We want to win.
Yeah.
Like no one's happy with just one ring. This Inc. 5000, that's one accolade, one ring, right? I got a lot of plaques. It's a lifestyle. Yeah. It's a contagious lifestyle. And just like you, I want others to win around me too and become that contagious energy that draws people in. But just like sports, we're both sports guys.
Yeah.
You think these guys are content with a scoring title, one ring, oh, I got it? It's embedded into us. Yeah. It's all we know.
Yeah, it's constantly beating. I said it this week. I did an event this week, and I said, the truest measure of success is beating you yesterday. That's all it is. And then doing that 365 days a year, watch what'll happen.
Yeah, and look, the mind is not a gas tank. It can't get full.
Never.
Feed it. And that's one thing too that I've really learned from you is muting out the noise. We live in a very noisy world right now. The distractions are coming at us 24/7. If you have an Apple Watch and a phone, you know what I mean. You're pinging all day long, right? But to be able to have the ability to detach from that and lock in, and the importance around positive message and what you put in is going to come out. I don't even listen to music anymore. I don't know about you, but it's very rare. Everything that I do from every drive, if it's 5 minutes or 30 minutes, is feeding this brain, feeding it to put me into a mindset and approach to win whatever I'm doing as soon as I get out the door.
Yeah, for me, I've shut off my phone at night. Like the last 3 hours of my night, it's on the charger and I don't even look at it. First thing in the morning, I don't even look at it. It's made me more present. It's made me more present in my family. It's made me more present in my business, how I can help people. And I realized it because I realized I was letting it control me. I was always on it, always. So I've totally changed that, and it's quieted my mind. And this is what I'm saying, like, it will always get you to win when you let go of the distractions, when you're not attached to it. And, I think I want to continue doing this with you in the future because I think even just us going back and forth is helping so many people.
Yeah.
And it's even reminding me of things that I didn't even remember, that you're reminding me. That's why one idea can change your life. If you said which one idea, if you looked at one idea to close this, if you said, this was the biggest idea that changed my life, what do you think it was?
Act as if. Come from the place that this already happened, right? I'm telling you, that reverse engineering hack changed my entire life. You and I are not going to sit up here and say, work hard, right? Get up early. That should be a given anyways. It's the tactical little steps along the way of success that are going to make the change. And that is one thing that I owe you an immense amount of gratitude for, is learning that little hack and already coming from the place.
It's already here.
It's already here.
Yeah.
And not dwelling on the wows, the hows and whys and whens. It's going to happen. Let it play out.
See, everyone watching this, I want you to get this. Everybody has this one idea that changed for them. Like mine was attitude. Mine was not letting the outside control me. Once I did that, it was game over. And yours is already act as if. I call it accepting an idea. It's already done. Same thing. But you see, like I've had a lot of these one ideas, but my one was attitude. Never letting the outside control me. Yours is act as if. And then you're going to see another one idea. That next move will take another one and another one. It's all one at a time. But what we want to do is bring that one idea, make it part of your identity. Then what's the next one idea? And I'm not saying you have to have it right now. You could take yours and run with it forever. Mine is standard too. Standard always wins. Standard creates empowering beliefs. Standard creates an empowering self-esteem and self-image for yourself. But I'm telling you, this was great. I'm glad we did this. We did this off a whim, but I want to keep putting out more impact because you could learn from other people's stories. We're all the same. If we can do it, anybody can do it. And we're just getting started. That's what I'll tell you.
I would agree. And you're spot on. I mean, start from nothing, right? Back to the wall. The stories are very similar, but I don't think we've hit our peak just yet.
No. I still remember 7th grade championship game. He's holding my jersey the whole game,
Yeah.
but we still won.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you.